Yeah, it does give me some concern for the quarterbacks, as it should. We're looking at three guys that are all unknown to BYU, unknown to this level of football. Our defense is not taking it easy on them, and it's showing, and they're turning the ball over quite a bit. That will be disaster if they can't get that fixed.
Hello and welcome to the Active Podcast Studio. This is the Loyal Cougars Podcast. I'm your host, Jake Edmonds, alongside Tosh Magatosh. Welcome back, Tosh. We're both in studio today.
Yeah, feels good.
Great feeling. Man, first week of fall camp, and it feels like we have a lot to talk about already, and we're only 1 week in. So let's start with kind of the good / maybe bad, which is a question of whether or not the defense is good or the offense is bad. And this is kind of the question every single year, right? You have a year where the offense is kicking butt in fall camp and people say, well, the offense is great, but maybe the defense is bad. Like it's hard to really judge one over the other. But this was tweeted out. Joe Wheat reported, he said many, and this is on SI.com, an article he wrote. He said, many have felt the BYU secondary would take a massive step back this year following the loss of Jacob Robinson and Mark Collins. That may still be true, but there is still so much talent in the secondary. According to sources, BYU corners and safeties recorded 7 interceptions through the first 2 days of fall camp, including 3 by sophomore safety Faletau Satuwala and the one shown above by corner Evan Johnson. And I think he was referencing a video as well in that. So 7 interceptions by the defense. Tosh, are you concerned about the offense and specifically the quarterback situation at BYU, or are you excited about the defense and the pass defense, the secondary that BYU has?
Both. But one, Satuwala is a guy that was a 4-star recruit out of Bountiful, was a beast on both sides of the ball. He really was the premier guy of that class. And so I am my first reaction is I'm stoked that he's coming into his own. Last year he played in moments, but as a freshman, it seemed like his head was spinning at the speed and complexity of college football. So I love when our big-time recruits are showing, hey, they're going to figure this out and they're going to become big-time players. So I'll start there. Then I'll go to in general, as a general rule, defenses have an easier time to start a season than offenses. Any defense plays a lot of read and react, and where you go where the play and the ball and your instincts take you in a large part on every defensive scheme. Offense is all about precision, every single player being in the same timing, in the same place to give spacing, a lot of memorization. And if you're thinking as an offense what they have to do a lot, it's really hard to be as fast as the defense. So I do give the offense some grace, that it doesn't surprise me that our defense is better than them right now. But then the real part of your question, yeah, it does give me some concern for the quarterbacks. Like that, as it should. We are looking at 3 guys that are all unknown to BYU, unknown to this level of football, and our defense is not taking it easy on them, and it's showing, and they're turning the ball over quite a bit, and that will be disaster if they can't get that fixed.
Yeah. So 2 parts to this. As you mentioned, the defense has an advantage, and I think it helps, too, that they bring back so many guys. Like Jacob Robinson's gone. Obviously, we know Batty's gone. Mangelson's gone. And Jay Hill addressed that. He's like, he was asked, is your defense better than last year? And he said, yeah, in certain spots. He's like, obviously we miss guys like Jacob and Batty and Mangelson, but they bring back a lot of guys in the secondary outside of the Tanner Wall is one of them. Like, I think the defense has an advantage built in because they know they've gone against this offense already. They know what they're facing. They know the system. And so they can kind of take advantage of these newer quarterbacks. I know, McKay and Trayson, they had reps with this offense last year, but not really game reps and probably not first team reps against this defense. So it's almost like the defense, having the experience that they have coming into fall camp, they're almost taking advantage of these like newer, low rep guys. So I think that, I think the offense will get better throughout, but it is, I think it's good to see the defense making plays. Now the offense needs to step up. The other part is, and A-Rod addressed this, one of the interceptions at least, I think from Bear. He said they told Bear he couldn't scramble.
Yeah.
So I think that the fact that the quarterbacks were kind of limited in what they could do, where Bear could have probably scrambled for a first down, instead he throws an interception. You take that away and it's a positive play for the offense. So I think first of all, I think we as fans and fans in general read probably way too much into this type of stuff. But also I don't take too much stock in the fact that guys like Bear Bachmeier are throwing an interception when they could have just scrambled for a first down instead.
I actually probably making too big of a deal out of the A-Rod Bear comments. But one, why did A-Rod feel a desire to go out of his way to defend Bear's interception? I think to me, that's a good sign for Bear. That, hey, he felt like he needed to tell the media that one was silly and explain why. And then the second point is they're obviously giving Bear the benefit of the doubt on, hey, if this guy could run. We're not letting him do that. I'm going to tell the media that. I'm going to tell myself that this guy could have made a lot of extra plays that we're not seeing because we're not letting him, and that he outwardly said that. So again, that only helps Bear. The other proven running guy is McKay. So I wonder if they are giving the same sort of grace or boost to McKay too, but he didn't say it about McKay. And so again,
McKay might not have thrown an interception. We don't know.
That's fair. Yeah. But I just give it in my overanalyzing. That was a good sign for Bear to have A-Rod say that about him.
Yeah, and A-Rod was, very high on Bear. And granted, I think the media too. We know McKay, we know Trayson, we've seen them at BYU. We may not have seen them play a lot at BYU, but the media knows them. And so Bear's kind of the media darling right now. I think, and I'm kind of falling into this as well. I really like Bear. I think he has the highest upside on the team. I've already said that I think he should start week 1. And so a lot of the questions to A-Rod after this kind of first week of fall camp, the media availability, I think was on Monday or Tuesday last week, was around Bear, but he was super high on him. He said Bear's already up to speed. He's really smart. Obviously, we know he's smart. He goes to Stanford. He went to Stanford. And he says he knows the offense already. He needs to get some reps to develop chemistry. So the only really downside to Bear joining BYU in the summer and not the spring or even last year, right? Like as early as he could have, is that he doesn't have chemistry with the team. And the question is, can he develop that chemistry in the next 3 weeks? We will have yet to see. But A-Rod was super high in his ability to learn the offense, which I think that was a big part of Bear's ability to play week 1, was that were they going to have to dumb down the playbook for him so that he could pick it up? And, obviously there's major disadvantages to that. So the fact that he's picking up the offense now, is that coach speak? I don't know. I don't think A-Rod really subscribes to coach speak per se. Like Kalani kind of does more so than A-Rod. A-Rod's a pretty straight shooter. And so what he says about Bear, I actually believe him. So I'm excited to see Bear. The one thing I actually saw an interview, I think it was on CougarConnect's podcast, where McKay was talking about his size. Everyone's asking about his size. And I think the media even asked him about his size after fall camp, after his practice last week. And basically he's like, look, I've been this size. This is like what I know. Like, I don't know how to be tall. Like, I can't be tall. Like, I can't control it. And so he said, being a quarterback, a tall quarterback, like 6'2", 6'3", is not as big of an advantage as you think. And here's what he meant by that. He said, being a quarterback, it's more about seeing windows. Not that you can see over your offensive line, because most quarterbacks can't. It's that you can see through your offensive line. You can see windows. You know where guys are going to be when they're going to be there. And so you don't have to see over your offensive line. Especially in a spread offense, you can see through guys. You don't have to see over the line.
Yeah, it's a very valid point by him, and it's one that's the next step in fan experience. Is we got to have a quarterback cam where we see what they see, because it is when you're playing a video game and you get that super high view, or you're in the stands,
no one
and you
sees
get
that.
You see this guy and you're yelling, he's open, but that quarterback has giants in front of him. blocking in front of him, but blocking his view. Then he's got giants trying to kill him, and his view is very, very, very different than what everyone else can see. So I think that's a valid point by him.
Yeah, and a lot of it too is pre-snap reading of the defense. Like there's a lot more to being a quarterback than just being tall and being able to see over your offensive line. And he made a really good point that like, look, this is what I've been my whole life. Like I've been able to be successful without being 6'2" or 6'3". Like I'm 5'10" and I'm good at 5'10". I've made it to a D1 college, a P4 school. Like I feel confident in myself. So I learned a lot about McKay from that interview, just that he's not concerned about his height. And I don't think we should really be either. Now, granted, is it going to come up every single game? Probably. Yeah. Especially when he's starting. But he's shown the ability at Utah State at Skyridge to be able to run the ball. So we know he can run. Now, can he throw the ball accurately? Can he find his receivers that are open? Like that still has yet to be seen. But he does, as A-Rod said, Bear has to learn the chemistry with his team. McKay already has that. And so I'm excited. So that said, the other kind of story of last week was that BYU is going to be without one of their top 3, I think, coming into this year, top 4 running backs in Haunga. And so the question now is like, who's backing up LJ, right? You've got LJ, you've got Moa.
Yeah.
And it's kind of an open spot at that point, especially now that Hinckley Rapati is kind of still up in the air as to whether or not he's going to come back.
So in a normal year for most teams, 2 solid running backs is great. Mm-hmm. So we should be fine. I'll start there. I'm not worried about it. We have 2 running backs that I am stoked with them getting tons of carries. The thing why BYU fans are freaking out right now is because last year we had running backs dropping like flies. We had LJ who had off-season surgery running into the season. He wasn't even doing full contact until we started playing games. And then he was falling with different injuries. We don't need to go through the list. Everyone knows and saw just even Rapati limping off the field. Everyone. We played 5 quarterbacks in the first month of this. 5 running backs in the first month of the season. So we're like, man, we need everybody. But reality is 2 is enough. And we have no idea who's in that room, which actually I'm okay with. BYU coaches have proven to be able to find guys like Moa. And Hunga's even an example of that. Not let alone we've switched guys from the defense that have become NFL running backs. And so it's like we have 2 ballers, and I trust the coaches to put out backs that are going to be able to make plays.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, if you have a good offensive line, any running back can look good. A-Rod, by the way, he called out guys like Javesa Damuni. He called out Logan Payne. He called out Preston Rex. He called out a handful of running backs. And again, is that coach speak? Is he just trying not to not call out guys? He wants to include everybody. But yeah, LJ Martin's going to be your number 1, and I think he could be top 3 running back in the conference. It's a question of whether or not he stays healthy, because if he gets hurt, then you're down to Sione Moa, and then you're down to Enoch Nawahine. Obviously, if Rapati stays healthy, then it's Rapati's going to be in the top 3. Yeah. But yeah, it's a matter of if someone gets hurt.
I wonder when we're going to find out if Rapati is eligible. That's the If Rapati's named eligible, I have 0 concerns. As of right now, I would say my concern level is, I don't know, 1 to 100 is a 2. I'm very low concern. We have 2 guys that I think have a chance to make the league in our running back room right now. We should be good.
Yeah. Real quick, going back to the quarterback situation, because BYU TV and so just Jerem and Dave McCann did an interview with Brandon Doman. I thought it was really good. Addressing the quarterback situation, because obviously Brandon's been a quarterback at BYU. He's coached quarterbacks at BYU. He knows kind of what's going on. Now, it's unique in the sense that BYU is going for, they're evaluating 3 guys instead of 2. Usually it's a 2-man battle at this point. So they're evaluating 3 guys, that's where Brandon said that's the biggest challenge, I think, in this quarterback battle, is that there's just not enough reps to go around. You have enough reps to maybe split in half. There's not enough reps to split in thirds. And the longer you go without choosing at least a 2 deep to split reps in half, the more disadvantage you're going to have in the regular season. So Brandon actually thinks McKay can be every bit as good as Jake Retzlaff. That's what he said, if not better. I don't know if I believe that. We still have yet to see that. Now, Brandon also has more of a personal relationship with McKay, and so I think he leans towards McKay because of that. But he's very high on McKay Hillstead and says he could potentially be better than Jake.
So you brought up a ton of good points there. One is there's no way they can or should let it be a 3-man race for very long. I wouldn't be surprised if sometime this week, whether they announce it or not, they turn it into a 2-man race. Like that needs to happen soon for everyone's benefit, to build chemistry and to really get enough reps and enough views. Secondly is I think it already is a 2-man race. Maybe it's because Trayson doesn't have the PR team that the other two do, but I'm already discounting Trayson, and it's unfair. It's just because I'm not hearing anything. I've heard nothing bad on him.
Yeah.
It's just I think it's a 2-man race right now between McKay and Bear. My other thing that I think funny is that Bear is like the people's champion right now.
Right.
That he's the talk. The litmus test on that is last night I walk into the living room and my 14-year-old son has YouTube open and he's watching every play from Hank Bachmeyer's freshman year at Boise because he's so excited about Bear that the only thing he can watch is I want to see how his brother plays, and he's getting stoked. And I'm like, dude, I don't know how well that translates, but I think it's funny and it's interesting.
I love your kid. He came up to me. We both work at Aptive, and so we had this work event, and he came up to me and he's like, I love your guys' show. Like, I watch it every week. And he's like, you guys need to get Drake Toll on.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to try and get Drake on. I've already talked to Jake Hatch to see if we can get Drake. Drake's the host of Locked On Big 12. So
who does a very, I think teenagers love that guy. He's very animated. My son for sure does. My son loves Bear. Here's the McKay thing that I think people are undervaluing that should give everyone pause that is fully on the Bear train. And that is in his 1 year of D1 football at Utah State, he had a PFF passing grade of over 90 when he had a clean pocket. And that's when he was a true freshman. That ranked top 25 nationally. And they did a minimum of 40 dropbacks. And that was better than J.J. McCarthy, Quinn Ewers, Cam Ward, Noah Fafita, which that was Noah Fafita's good year. Mm-hmm. So when he had a clean pocket, he performed really well. And you also put that with he's actually a natural great runner. I think there's a real argument that our O-line can make him shine. And so again, it's kind of of course, but I just keep reminding I keep getting excited about McKay, and then I get really excited about Bear, and then I just try to ground myself that I'm going to be someone that I just trust the coaches.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that I don't keep getting myself emotionally pulled in either direction.
Yeah, and it was the same with like Gary Bohannon last year. Like, everyone wanted the backup quarterback. This is how it is every single year. Even when Jake was doing somewhat fine. I don't think Jake, and I've said this before, like I was team Jake last year. I had criticisms of some of his plays, but I think he was fine. Everyone wanted Gary, and especially towards the end of the year. And so I trust the coaches. I'm in the same boat as you. I really hope that they decide by early this week, because we need to start moving forward with a guy, if not two guys at most. So that said, Brett McMurphy came out with his preseason top 25 as these kind of ballots are now starting to come out. And to me, this poll was kind of interesting. So of the Big 12 teams, we'll just kind of highlight these. Kansas State, 13. So he has Kansas State as the top Big 12 team. The second best Big 12 team, Utah, at 17. And I think BYU fans have a little bit of a issue with that. At number 20, he's got Arizona State. Number 23, he has Texas Tech. And I actually think Texas Tech, and we'll talk about them in just a little bit because we're going to preview BYU's game against the Red Raiders. Texas Tech is going to be a handful, I believe. They're kind of a wild card team, and we'll talk about why in just a little bit. But I actually think Texas Tech has a chance to be the top team in the Big 12. I don't understand. And we've talked about this with Arizona State. I don't understand the hype around Arizona State. I'm actually fine with 20, with them being 20th. Kansas State is a huge head scratcher for me at 13.
Yeah.
I don't get the love with Avery Johnson. I don't see. and granted, I'm going off of primarily one game against BYU last year that they just laid an egg, but they did not impress me at all last year.
So I respect Brett. I want him to explain himself. Like why? Well, we'll start, of course. Why is BYU not in consideration? Why are they not in the next 15 teams?
Yeah.
And his answer is going to be, well, the questions at quarterback. Okay, that's fine. But let's look at they're bringing back an elite defense. They're bringing back a lot of proven productivity on offense. So you got to weigh that too. And then Utah in the top 20. Guess who else is bringing in a brand new quarterback? They are. And so, yes, your only argument for Utah is they have a great defense and they're bringing back some guys on offense.
Same as BYU.
Same exact. Like, so how, and same questions with Kansas State. I don't know as much about them. I don't follow them as closely, but they still have their quarterback who's a great runner, but lost it in big games because he's a below good enough passer right now. Are they going to be able to overcome that? Time will tell.
Yeah. Yeah, Utah to me is very much a toss-up right now because we just don't know. I mean, it's the same with Texas Tech. And we talked about Utah last week or 2 weeks ago, and it's going to be very dependent on Dampier and on Jason Beck's offense. And we'll see. We've already talked about Utah, so we don't need to go into that into a lot of detail. If you want to see our preview of Utah, just go back a couple of episodes. But Utah at 17 is surprising. All right, we're going to take a quick break to talk about an exciting partnership we have, both CougarBoard and the Loyal Cougars podcast, with a new title sponsor in Truewear. Bryce Winward is the VP of Sales at Truewear. Tim Nixon is a co-founder of the company. First of all, thanks for hopping on, guys.
Of course.
So give us a quick background on yourselves as well as Truewear. How did Truewear come to be, and kind of a background on how you guys started it?
Yeah, I can kind of jump into that. So, initially, Truewear started. So, I served a mission previously in Taiwan, super hot and humid climate. And the whole time I was over there biking, I was thinking, man, they got to make a dress shirt that feels like a polo, something that's actually comfortable to wear. And so, when I got back from my mission, I kind of made it my goal while I was at BYU to figure out a way and find somebody that would help me kind of create that product I was looking to do. And so I'd done some pest control sales, and worked for a company, and the president of the company ended up being my brother-in-law's brother-in-law. So kind of a little connection there. And so I approached him with the idea. I said, "Hey, look, I've got these contacts in these factories overseas. I have, speak the language. I have an idea. What are your thoughts?" And Joe, my business partner, was like, "Dude, I will jump in with 2 feet. Let's do this thing." So we launched the brand. We brought in all these dress shirts end of 2019, and as we all know, 2 months later, COVID hit. And so we were trying to figure out, kind of what to do. We were sitting on all this inventory, and then decided to kind of get into the corporate space, which is where, Bryce has really, been able to help us with his vast experience on that side.
Yeah, great segue. Thanks, Tim. I was working in brand and merch corporate sales for 11 years prior to coming into the ownership group at Truwear, and it's been awesome. It's been 3 years. I've been with Truwear. We've been building and growing, especially here in Utah, but outside of Utah, just like any other company, it's something you got to be passionate about, and we are. And maybe moving on to maybe our next topics is things that we're even more passionate about, and that's locally with BYU and BYU Cougars.
Yeah, obviously you guys have a background with BYU. What made the partnership with CougarBoard and being able to, produce BYU related material and not content, but apparel for CougarBoard or for the CougarBoard store?
Well, quickly the introduction. I've been part of CougarBoard for a lot of years. I transferred from what is properly known as Dixie State University up to BYU, and I have a brother that's a judge down in St. George, and I think he had a happenstance meeting with one of the primaries at people at CougarBoard, and he said, "Hey, you should get in contact with Bryce," which is odd because he's a massive University of Utah fan who I think frequents CougarBoard, which, as we all know, is something that happens at a large scale.
More than they want to admit, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was and that's where it started, and made a lot of sense just straight from the start.
That's great.
Yeah, and I think kind of, piggybacking off of Bryce, being the youngest of 10, I was always surrounded by the BYU culture with all 9 of my siblings, their spouses, parents, everybody having gone to BYU. Grew up going to a lot of BYU football games with, a lot of family members that played there. Just always super passionate about the university. I also felt like I grew up in College Station, Texas, where Texas A&M was in my hometown. My dad was a professor there. I grew up a big Aggie fan, but then I felt like when I was in 7th or 8th grade, that's when BYU and A&M played each other back to back in, let's see, what was that? In the NCAA tournament. And unfortunately, BYU lost both of those matchups, but I felt a deepening of pride for BYU because I was the outsider with all my friends being diehard Aggie fans. And so it just made me even more of a BYU fan. And so when this opportunity for this partnership kind of came to fruition, it was something we were really excited about to be affiliated with, and excited the trajectory and how things are growing.
That's awesome. So, what can fans expect in terms of quality, in terms of design? What can fans expect from what they're going to get in the store?
Yeah, we're gonna do our very best at as far as the items on the store. Man, how do you put this? It's my goal to make sure that like there's no more undershirts that are coming over the inside of like t-shirts anymore at Cougar games. Like we are bringing the quality in apparel, and that might we're gonna have different varying levels of gear. I know that there's some people that will look at our stuff, Truewear line, and associate it with brands as far as quality like Lululemon, and that comes with with fits and prices and all that other stuff. But we're gonna have a slew of other items that fit all demographics, all likes and interests, and most importantly, all of them will have fresh and new branding that I think will look really good as far as portraying and giving us what we want as BYU fans in the BYU branding.
You see a lot of like high-end luxury, not high-end luxury, but just high-end like sports brands, and they have these kind of they have drops and they have collections that are kind of unique to their brand. Is that something you guys are also pursuing and releasing as part of this store?
Yeah, definitely.
Tim,
I
you
mean,
want to speak to that?
we're going to be coming. Yeah, yeah. I was just gonna say, I think that we're going to be releasing product at a pretty healthy cadence to make sure that there's new exciting products for people to be able to purchase for themselves or for their kids or their spouses, whatever it may be. And I think kind of piggybacking off of the quality side, I think a lot of times a lot of Cougar fans, I think just fans in general, are used to getting, kind of the Walmart t-shirts or whatever the t-shirt is they put on the back of the seats at games. And that's kind of their go-to BYU shirt. We definitely want to elevate, the quality from that. So that people are actually, proud to represent the Cougs and will wear it out in public and not just use it as a dish rag or to wipe down their car, And so we're trying to kind of bridge that divide between, you have the Nike stuff, which is awesome, also associated with a very high price point. We're bringing that Nike quality, but at that lower price point, so it's affordable for all fans, of every demographic.
Yeah, I
Awesome.
agree.
Love that. So where can fans go to find your apparel?
Well, I mean, the CougarBoard fans are going to find it real close to what they're browsing every day here very shortly. In that we're going to be launching the CougarBoard merch store on CougarBoard this week. In fact, sooner than later. And so they're going to be able to browse and purchase um, and even give feedback right there on CougarBoard for all things merch for us at CougarBoard.
Last question. Give me your boldest prediction for BYU this year. It can be for both football or for basketball. Give me your bold prediction.
I mean, let's go. Let's do all the bold predictions. We're not gonna throw a fade route interception this year. That's a bold prediction.
Well, Jake's not quarterback, so that's not that bold.
That's true.
I've seen a lot of quarterbacks throw that pass into an interception, not just him. I have nothing against Jake Retzlaff. That's a bold prediction. But
Okay.
Go ahead, Tim. I'll think of another one.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think I think there's a real chance that we make the college football playoff this year. I think there's a lot of uncertainty, obviously, with QB, and I know that we're kind of working through that. It looks like the guys we kind of have that are coming up are great options. I think that our defense was awesome last year. It sounds like we reloaded in a lot of those spots. Maybe venture to say upgraded in a lot of those spots. And so I think defensively we're going to be a menace in the Big 12. And as long as our offense can kind of keep up with the tenacity our defense is bringing, I think the Big 12 is going to be put on watch for what we're going to bring to the table this year. So I think there's a chance. Now, whether that means 11-0, 12-0, I don't know about that. I obviously hope so, but I think that we have a real chance of taking the Big 12 and making a statement in the playoff this year on the football side.
Okay.
We're
gonna revisit this conversation in 4 or 5 months, and we'll hold you guys accountable to your bold predictions.
I'll give you a little one on the basketball side. My peak sports viewing, like one spot is Jimmer against Kawhi at home, right? So BYU, San Diego State. I would probably a lot of BYU fans probably wouldn't like this, but like I thought Jimmer's teams were like, obviously it was an amazing watch, but I thought the teams were like suspect, which made the like performances by Jimmer feel like so much more impressive because it's like, oh man, if he didn't do that, we're likely losing all these games. But that was one game that like it met every moment, like back and forth, and Jimmer and co just met it. And so my bold prediction is that I think we could have a couple opportunities to surpass that level of game this year in basketball.
Yeah, Jimmer transcended college basketball, I thought, and so it's going to be hard to match that, at least that perspective, national perspective. But we're definitely, and BYU is definitely in good company with who they have on their roster, and I agree. I think there's going to be a lot of media hype around this BYU team. It'll be fun to watch.
I think on the basketball side of things, I think you're right. I think it's all going to come down to how cohesive our team is this year. But I think that there is a real opportunity. I think Elite Eight and above is kind of where I think BYU is headed this year on the basketball side with the transfers we got in, obviously with AJ, keeping Richie back. I think that Elite Eight is definitely in our line of sight for sure.
Okay. I'm looking forward to it, and it's going to be a super exciting season. All right, thanks for hopping on, boys. It's a pleasure having you. Love your bold predictions. We'll hold you accountable in 5 months. But it was great having you on. Bryce Windward, VP of Sales for Truewear, Tim Nixon, co-founder. If you want to check out the apparel for Truewear, head over to CougarBoard. Also head over to their website and check them out. Again, thanks for hopping on.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Let's talk about Texas Tech, though, because, again, just like Utah, they are a bit of a wild card. Honestly, BYU is kind of a bit of a wild card, too, depending on how the quarterback situation pans out. Texas Tech went 8-5 last year. They were 6-3 in conference. They did lose to Arkansas in the Liberty Bowl without their quarterback. That said, they were really, really bad to start the year. They won. They beat Abilene Christian by 1 in a shootout in overtime. Should not have happened.
No.
At
That's
home.
That's not a good run.
Then they lose at Washington State in week 2. So they've got 2 really bad games to start the year. But then they go on to beat Arizona State and Iowa State. So just this, Jekyll and Hyde team last year. They were the best scoring offense in the Big 12. 4th best in the country. They were the 2nd worst scoring defense in the Big 12 and one of the worst in the country there. They did have the top running back in terms of yards in the conference in Taj Brooks. And we've talked about Taj a little bit already, but Taj was a really good running. I mean, you talk about Cam Scadaboo, you talk about Mekhi Bernard, like there were some really good running backs. Taj Brooks, and maybe because like BYU's purview was more around the teams that they played, or maybe even Utah played, and neither of those teams played Texas Tech last year, but I don't remember hearing a whole lot about Taj Brooks last year. We probably should have. Obviously, he got drafted in the NFL, and we'll probably have some success there. So they lose Taj, and I think that's a big loss. But I don't know if it's that big considering who they bring in to replace him, which is Quentin Joyner from USC, a guy who averaged 7.4 yards a carry at USC in his career, number 4 running back in the high school class of 2023. I don't feel like they skip a beat at running back.
Yeah, they are spending a lot of money to reload and to be in a great, great spot where locally and somewhat nationally, BYU is getting a lot of attention in our ability to win this NIL new world and to be able to reload and up our recruiting. But there is a name in a school that's getting more attention and is probably doing it at a higher level than us in football right now, and that's Texas Tech, where they have a guy named Cody Campbell who sold an energy business for $4 billion and then has just been flooding money into the program. He's a former player that became super rich guy, and they have just embraced him. I mean, they named him to the board of regents of their school. And I'm naming him by name because I don't think you can talk Texas Tech right now without talking Cody Campbell, in that he has them in a different stratosphere than where they were a few years ago. And so to your point at running back, they bring in a proven baller from USC in Quentin Joyner. He averaged 7.4 yards per carry last year. He was the number 4 running back in the whole nation out of high school a couple years ago. They're going to be good, and that's just one position. He is throwing NIL money and getting great guys from the state of Texas and getting transfer guys in, and that's the way to win in college football right now, and they are doing it at a high level. So I expect them to be a force to be reckoned with this year and for the next few years in the Big 12.
Yeah, Taj Brooks is obviously a huge loss, but when you can bring in a guy like Quentin Joyner, I don't think you're gonna miss a step. You also bring back your quarterback in Baron Morton, and Baron wasn't necessarily he wasn't anything to write home about per se last year, although he was top half of the Big 12 last year. When you bring in it's similar to what BYU fans were going to experience with Jake Retzlaff. Not the best quarterback in the conference, but a guy that just brings back this experience. Texas Tech has that guy in Baron Morton. Then they also, and as you mentioned, we've talked about this, the recruiting class. So just to put into perspective of how good their recruiting class was for this year, and BYU fans will kind of relate to this because we're super excited about BYU's recruiting class for 2026, right? They have a top 20 recruiting class right now on 24/7 Sports. Mm-hmm. Texas Tech's overall recruiting class for 2025 is number 21,
which is incredible. Again,
for them, it's great.
We are stoked on being in that world for next year, and they did that this year.
And they did it through the transfer portal. I think that's what's more important, is that they did it with guys that already have experience at the college level. So they're bringing in veterans to an extent. The number 2 transfer portal class for this year, 2025, the only team that was ahead of them was LSU. That's according to 24/7 Sports. So they've landed 13 4-star guys. They surprisingly don't have a single 5-star guy. According to 24/7, they could be 5 stars somewhere else. Who freaking knows? With these star ratings, I don't know. But they've got 13 4-star guys. They've got 3 high-caliber offensive linemen, Howard Sampson, Will Jados from Miami, Ohio, and Hunter Zambrano from Illinois State. So 3 potentially NFL caliber offensive linemen to help out with Quentin Joyner in their run game. They also bring in 2 edge rushers in David Bailey from Stanford and Romello Height from Georgia Tech. In total, they've got a quarterback, a running back, that's Quentin Joyner, we've already talked about, 3 receivers, 4 offensive linemen, a tight end, 5 D linemen, and 5 defensive backs. That is a haul.
Yeah.
And I don't, so that said, like, we don't know how these guys are going to play together at Texas Tech, and they could all flop, right? The chemistry could be terrible.
Yeah, we saw this at Texas A&M. Texas A&M was spending a lot of money and they were winning the transfer portal game and then just were putting up duds because there was just bad locker room and people really jealous and mad about how much money someone else made versus someone else. So my question is Texas Tech going to have the same problems? But I would love to be in their spot where you bring in a lot of proven ballers and you see, hey, can we make these guys mesh?
Yeah.
I think BYU fans and college football fans in general are sleeping on Texas Tech, and they are a potential giant this year.
Yes, and it comes for BYU during a stretch where it's going to be the toughest stretch of the year. I mean, I think these 3 games, we've talked about Utah, we've talked about Iowa State where they head to Ames. I think that could be their first loss of the year, maybe their second. We'll see. They could lose to Utah, who knows? And then they go to Texas Tech, and that's those 3 games. If you add Utah, that's going to be the toughest stretch of the year, and it's going to really determine whether or not BYU is. I think they're going to be bowl eligible. I'm not concerned about them making a bowl game. It's going to be a matter of whether or not they now make a conference championship game.
Yeah, those 3 games decide, is this a special season?
Yeah,
I think we stack some wins at the beginning of the year. It gets a little lighter on the end if we can stay healthy, but that middle gauntlet, Utah, Iowa State, Texas Tech, that's a gauntlet right there.
Yes. So we'll see how that game goes and how that kind of stretch of the season goes, but hoping for the best. Texas Tech's going to be a real monster, I think, in the Big 12, though. So that said, let's transition now to BYU basketball. We've got a couple more minutes. They released their Uncut video. It's kind of part of their The Cut series where they release these kind of behind the scenes videos of what's going on. And so their first like summer practice session Uncut video was really fun to watch. It's really hard not to get hyped for this team. Anytime you watch a clip, even the live streams of these guys where AJ is just burning everyone. Like, it's so hard not to get excited about that.
There was a crappy video. It's like you're looking through guys, but AJ drives past his guy from the one baseline, jumps up, and then goes under the rim and reverse dunks it, and it's like, wow.
Effortless, too.
Yeah, and it's like, we don't see that at BYU, and I'm like rewatching crappy film, but it's like, there's some real hype and magic going on in that gym.
By the way, I love that this is becoming a thing where like Rob Wright and I think Kennard Davis might do it as well, but they basically just set up a phone on a tripod, right? They just set it up on their tripod and they record, or not even record, they just set up a live stream like on Twitch. And they probably get donations from that. Like that, to me, that's like the fundamental purpose of NIL.
Yeah.
Is that players can go out and do that. They can go out and they can just get money for playing pickup basketball with their teammates.
People like me and you and our listeners, we want to watch.
Yeah, we suck that. And the thing is, like, I don't know if he would get that anywhere else. I feel like this is a very, very, and I could be wrong. I don't know about other fan bases, but like, I don't know if Rob Wright set up a live stream on Twitch, if he was still at Baylor, if he would get the same amount of views, or a Duke or whatever. I don't know if they would really care that much about preseason workout basketball with their players. BYU eats that stuff up so much.
Yeah.
And they're benefiting from it, and I love that. So going back to this Uncut video, I want to give my 3 overreactions to this video. And that's I want to emphasize overreactions, right? If I were to overreact to this video, this is what I would say. So there was no Keba Keita in the video, and that was slightly concerning. I did ask a couple sources / friends of mine who were somewhat close to the program. They said it's just a shoulder injury sitting as a precaution. So am I overreacting to it? Yeah, probably.
It's concerning.
I think he'll still play, but yeah, is it a lingering shoulder injury?
I mean, with medical stuff, we take it at their word. Oh, he's going to be fine for the season. Sometimes people's bodies don't react the way they think they're. Who knows if it's feeling better? Right now, it's hurting. Mm-hmm. we really got to hope it stops hurting and that he can play well, because that position is the position that scares me the most on if he gets hurt. Like, the other 4 positions, we can plug and play a lot of different guys in there. Rob Wright at the point guard scares me a little bit, but again, we could have AJ handle the ball a lot more. Baker, let's get him healthy. He can handle the ball more. But at the same time, if at center, there's a big drop off from who we can plug in there, and that makes me nervous.
Yeah. I mean, Xavier Stanton, and this could be another overreaction. I actually didn't even put it on. I don't know if I'm taking one of yours. Xavier Stanton could be the backup.
At least in those clips, he looked good.
Yes. Yeah.
He was catching lobs. He was getting blocks.
Yeah.
It's hard to know what got cut. Like, they showed 0 people of someone causing a turnover.
Nothing
being in the wrong spot.
Nothing got cut. It's the uncut video, right?
Yeah, it's
Nothing
not. It was cut.
Completely raw. Yeah.
But in what they showed us, I was like, hey, he looked good. His vertical was better than I expected. He was making defensive plays. He was making offensive plays. Brandon Davies was who he was going against. That's the guy that we got to talk to of how is he really playing. But yeah, that was my biggest takeaway from this, watching this, is if Stanton can be an above average center this year, then we are a dang scary team.
Yeah.
I'm just not know if I'm there yet, but there was signs of it in that video.
Yeah, I mean, our second unit could be as good as a lot of teams' first units if he can be what he needs to be.
Yeah.
If he can be a good backup. That's assuming he's the backup behind Keba. My second overreaction to this video, they did a vertical competition. AJ clearly was first place, 40.5-inch vertical,
Which is insane.
Number 2 was surprising to me, and this is where I get my overreaction. I think Dominique Diamande is going to be BYU's best defender because I think he's probably second in terms of athleticism behind AJ. And what I mean by athleticism is he can jump out of a gym. And clearly he showed that with a 38.5-inch vertical, number 2 in the competition. I don't know if that necessarily surprises a lot of BYU fans. We saw highlights of him kind of jumping out of the gym to dunk a lot in his overseas. But I think his athleticism and there were other clips of him like defending, and granted, it's 2.5 seconds of him defending a guy. But he looked like a very impressive defender. I think he's going to be BYU's best defender, kind of replacing that mag role.
He's an NBA athlete, which is exciting. If you can get those guys, that's awesome. The question for him is going to be, can he develop a three-point shot? Can he make the defense play honest enough on offense to give us spacing? And right now, early signs I'm hearing is that he's not hitting threes or developing that as fast as they want. There is still a lot of time between now and the season. And Mag was in the same place last summer. And even to start the season, they were questioning, can he do enough to... he was incredible on defense, but he was such a liability on offense. Can we play him? And then he developed a three-point shot from the corner. That's what it's going to take. If Diamande can be able to get his three-point, even if it's just from the corner, then all of a sudden he's a great force for us. But that's the thing to watch, and that everyone should be listening. Is he able to hit threes? That's going to see how much we can use him.
Sure. So that kind of leads me to the last overreaction. And these may not be hot takes at all. It may not even be overreactions. Obviously everyone knew Dominique was going to be a good defender. So I'm probably not like revealing anything incredibly hot in terms of takes. And the same kind of goes with this third one, which is I think Richie's actually going to lead the team in scoring again this year. And the reason that might be controversial is because obviously AJ is the number 1 recruit in the country. You bring in a guy like Rob Wright, who's scored a bunch at Baylor. He's more of a distributor though. Richie, based on what I saw, he's just so, we saw this last year. He's just so crafty. Like he can score in pretty much any way he wants. We saw the floater in the highlight. We saw him drawing contact and driving through the contact to get to the rim still and lay it in. We saw his signature pull-up three-pointer with a quick release. Like we saw everything in this one 8, 9, 10-minute video that really leads me to believe that Richie is still going to be kind of the primary scorer on this team. AJ is going to get his buckets. AJ is going to make plays. He's going to be a great defender. He's going to be the highlight reel that BYU fans are kind of expecting out of him. But I think in terms of like overall production and efficiency, I think Richie is going to be that guy.
Agreed. He could score in so many different ways, one of which is without even him having the ball. Like, he's a great rebounder, put it back for easy buckets, and he gets 8 points like that a game, and all of a sudden he has a lot of points. And so, yeah, Richie could just score so effortlessly. The question that I have that we'll dive into a lot more as basketball gets closer is it's going to come down to, are the players fine ego-wise with whoever they call a play for when it's tied or we're down one with 30 seconds left? Because it's my guess is that they're going to draw play up for AJ and that they've got to feed him even for future recruiting. But is Richie going to be fine with that? Because last year it was mostly him. Even Rob Wright, his whole life has been a guy, no, I should have the ball and then I make the right basketball play. Is he going to be fine if it's going to AJ? But who knows? Maybe it will go to Rob Wright. That's a thing I am curious to watch. Who gets it when the game's on the line, and are our players humble enough and team-oriented enough that they're fine, that they are used to being the alphas, but that they're not getting plays drawn up for them when the game's on the line?
Yeah, and the only thing I would disagree with there was I actually don't think Richie was that guy last year, at least for half the year. It was Yegor.
Yeah.
Yegor was the guy that got the ball with 8 seconds left on the clock, right, to try and make something happen. And there was a period of time where he didn't know what to do with the ball, and he made mistakes.
Correct. You're absolutely right. Down the stretch, though, when BYU got good, it became that was Richie.
I agree. I mean, we saw it against Wisconsin. We saw it against, was it Arizona, right?
Iowa State, at Iowa State.
At Iowa State, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So it'll be interesting to see. Do you have any overreactions? What's kind of your take from that video? Your biggest take?
That we're good. That my biggest is we are freaking good. We have NBA level athletes out there at almost every position. And it's like, that is not your grandma and your dad's BYU, where we had 0 and maybe 1. Now it's like we got maybe 10. And it's like, that is freaking awesome. The hottest seat in town is going to be BYU basketball this year. The expectations are so high. If they can live up to those, and I think they can when I watch that, I'm like, we are filled with athletes. It's going to be rocking.
Yeah, it's wild when a guy like Dawson Baker comes back, a decent production guy coming off the bench from last year, comes back, and we're not even hardly talking. Boscovich, we're not even talking about these guys.
Yeah.
Where in the past it was like, we need these guys to come back and like, if they get better, like BYU is going to be a better team. Like that was kind of the talk, was like, we just need these guys to come back and get better.
Yeah.
And now it's like, we're not even talking about these guys because we brought in new blood that's like, light years better than these guys. Not to say that Dawson's bad and we don't need Dawson or Boscovich, but like in the past, those guys would transition into a starting role. Like Boscovich would be the 4, Dawson would, come in and be your 2 or 3. And like, that was kind of the natural progression of BYU. We've gone away from that. It's now one and done guys, and they're just plugging and playing them as they come. And that's a great feeling.
Absolutely. Not only are they NBA, AJ could be a future NBA MVP. And that's not a crazy statement. And it's like, that's no shame on Dawson, but that's not his ceiling. And so, but he could be a great player. I'm excited to see how those pieces work.
Yeah, agree. All right, Tosh, as always, thanks for joining.
Pleasure.
This is the Loyal Cougars podcast. I'm your host, Jake Edmonds. Tosh McIntosh joining me. If you like what you see, head over to YouTube, like, subscribe, hit the bell to get notified. Also head over to wherever you get your podcasts and leave us a review as well. That helps us as we continue to keep this thing growing. Until next week, we'll see you later.